Hey everyone, it's me, Dwayne Monroe, your Azure friend. There are lots of cloud cost management or cloud cost optimization tools on the market, such as Cloudability, Cloud Zero, Cloudin, but there are also tools built into Azure and AWS and GCP that allow you to monitor your cloud spend. So let's just take a look at kind of a head-to-head comparison of the Azure Cost Management and AWS Cost Explorer tools. Let's start with a look at the Azure Cost Analysis portal, which, as you can see, has a very Power BI-ish look to it. It is possible from this interface to change, for example, your scope. I'm using management groups, which is, I think, the best way to organize your Azure resources. And you can see at a glance not only the trend lines of spend, but also the budget that has been set. Here I set a €30 budget. You can change the type of display that you want. I won't make the change here because it sometimes takes a little bit of time for it to render. But from the default view, you can actually do quite a lot. Again, I think that we can see here the Power BI pedigree. And I'm guessing here, I haven't actually read anything that indicates that, although I should just simply Google that. But I think you can see the Power BI pedigree of this interface, because anyone who's worked with Power BI can clearly recognize sort of the look and feel, so to speak, of this interface. With the graph, the color schemes, all of this. This is a fairly straightforward, I think, interface, and it builds on, or rather it creates its story, visually speaking, I think in a way that's fairly accessible, but I may be biased because I am in fact familiar with how Power BI presents data and how you create dashboards and present dashboards using Power BI. Just to go through some of the elements on the screen here, that we can change the scope, as I mentioned, right? And we're going to stick with this management group. You can change the way that you're actually viewing your costs, which is either accumulated or by resource, daily, by service, or invoice details. And of course, you can change your billing date, and then you can add a number of filters to it. The filters are related to the metrics that are used by Azure as it's gathering the data. And then, of course, as I said, the default view, which allows you to aggregate or look at your spend by the services, by the location, and by resource group name. I think one of the things about this interface is that it's built around, of course, the architecture of Azure, which makes perfect sense because in Azure you have subscriptions, you have resource groups, and so forth. And it makes sense to actually present the data in this fashion. Now, by contrast, the AWS interface, which is quite interesting. In this interface, what you're doing is you're actually building your story on the right-hand side here. So, for example, I'm choosing which services I'm going to include in order to create the look that I need to actually get the insight that I'm trying to obtain from the data. In my case, I only have a few things deployed, or actually one thing deployed to AWS, which is a single T3A EC2 instance. So I've selected EC2 instance and EC2 other in case I've forgotten something. I'm actually also using an S3 bucket, so I should click that. I am not using SNS. Let me just apply that, see if that changes the data that's displayed. Okay. Also the region, which is similar to what we can do in the Azure interface, but presented, interestingly, in a different way. I've deployed to the Frankfurt region and also to US East in North Virginia. The usage type, this is actually quite important because one of the things I've noticed about the AWS Cost Explorer interface is that it is possible to not get the data that you're looking for if you do not indicate that you're looking for data divided by hours. So for example, here, T2 micro by hours, if I uncheck that, let's apply that. And let's see, let's get rid of that usage type. And data transfer, yep, take that out as well. Yeah, so then I'm actually losing the richness of the data that's available because I haven't selected the correct usage type. So let's bring that back. So hours and also, let's see, so that actually doesn't apply to me, but should be able to get more data. Yep. So now I'm actually seeing more that's actually important to me. Under cost, under usage type, and cost category, nothing for me to select here. I have not applied any tags, so tags aren't important. This is actually a quite different interface, as you can see. I would say that this interface is more in line with what probably most business people would expect to see. Whereas this interface is, I would call it more of an engineering interface. It's the same type of data, of course, but presented in a different way. Anyway, interesting how the two different companies approach the task of presenting your cost data. Next time, I'm actually also going to include GCP. All right, thank you.